Okay, so let's pick back up where my computer cut off. Okay, so during data collection at every time point in this study, each child's receptive vocabulary skills were assessed using the Peabody Picture Vocabulary Test, 3rd edition. Their expressive vocabulary was assessed using the Expressive One-Word Picture Vocabulary Test. Their receptive and expressive language skills were assessed using the Preschool Language Scale, 3rd edition. And the scores from these tests were used as the dependent variables in this study. Independent variables were behaviors agreed upon by a panel of experts that were then categorized under the 5 problem behaviors for children with autism spectrum disorders, including acting out, repetitive stereotypic motor behaviors, insistence on sameness, social unresponsiveness, and inattentiveness. These specific behaviors were selected based on their hypothetical impact on language development in children with ASD because of their well-researched impact on social affective development in the same population. Okay, so after obtaining composite scores from the standardized test measures and also scores from the problem behaviors, which were quantified using a dichotomous scale of either 1, meaning the behavior was present, or 0, the behavior was not present. So after that, they used computer software that plotted data points at each time interval, and that was used to answer research questions and explore relationships among changes in individual variables over time. And this data revealed significant relationships between problem behaviors and development of children with ASD. So what did the growth curves generated by the computer software reveal exactly? Nonverbal IQ scores on the PVVT and PLS-3 prior to the onset of intervention were found to predict changes related to receptive and expressive vocab development and also expressive language development over time. And this echoes the findings of past research in this area. But looking at the curves in relation to problem behaviors, the results indicated that there was a relationship between both inattentive behaviors as well as socially unresponsive behaviors and language development over time. Results suggested that children with more inattentive behaviors and socially unresponsive behaviors before treatment made significantly less progress in expressive vocabulary and language comprehension development over the course of those 2 years. Also, to the surprise of the researchers, insistence on sameness, repetitive stereotypic motor behaviors, and acting out behaviors had a non-significant relationship with language development in this study. The researchers hypothesized, based on the results, that these variables were not sensitive enough to identify changes across the short 2-year time span, or either the range of different behaviors were too wide in these 3 categories. The results of this research really provide an understanding for a few of child problem behaviors that may be related to language development in young children with ASD. Identifying these predictive relationships may serve as a guide for the development of treatments that yield optimal outcomes for these children on the autism spectrum. This exploratory investigation really opens the doors for future studies of predictive relationships between specific child behaviors and development over time. I really thought that the article had sufficient research to support the idea that certain behaviors might predict patterns of language development over time. Though the sample size for the study was relatively small, I do believe that it was well constructed, and the researchers were really concise in their data interpretation. It would be interesting to me if they were able to collect further data after each child has been in intervention for a longer period of time. So what would it look like? What would those growth curves look like over the course of 4 years or 6 years or 10 years? The results from this study support the practice of providing focused instruction on attending skills early in intervention. I had a child who we thought was on the autism spectrum my first semester of clinic at the W, and one of our first goals was getting him to attend to one activity for 10 minutes. It was a very appropriate goal for his age, and he met that goal and was able to go on to meet other goals because he met that goal. It also adds to the growth growing research emphasizing the importance of early social behaviors on later language development. This research really could lead to further studies that might help professionals involved with ASD population make more informed decisions about how to maximize the effectiveness of early intervention efforts. And here's my reference for this article in case you want to give it a read yourself. Thank you for your time.